Welcome to Test 2 Review. Horse race journalism is the press is calling the races as in who's in the lead day by day or week by week. So if you've ever been to a horse race or a swim meet or a track meet or anything like that, they're constantly saying this person's in the lead, now this person's in the lead, now that person's in the lead. So that's horse race journalism. It's an example of the media acting as a scorekeeper, but it's not the only way that the media acts as a scorekeeper. The media can also act as a scorekeeper, talk if they keep track of the number of times that a candidate is mentioned, or an issue is mentioned, or the negative versus the positive mentions in the news for that candidate. All right, so agenda setting is the function of the media when they're deciding which issues are important enough to bring to public attention. If the news item is covered frequently and prominently, the audience then will regard the issue as more important. So, for an example, if you look at the news media in the last week or two, we've been talking a lot about gun violence, and so that is something that the public is now talking about because of the media showing that to us. All right, so the consolidation of media outlets, if you look at this, for an example, in 1983, 90% of American media was owned by 50 companies. Now it's owned by 6 companies. So that means that there's going to be an increased similarity of network news coverage because they're all getting their news from the same source. This is an iron triangle. The 3 points on the iron triangle are a congressional committee, the bureaucratic agency, and the interest group. And you can see how they help each other and what that relationship is like. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get to influence the policy process. And the way that they can do that is the interest group is kind of helping with the information. The bureaucratic agency is figuring out what would the ramifications be of this new policy. And the congressional committee is the one that can actually make that happen. All right, so PACs do lots of things. They make campaign contributions to gain access or to the legislators, but remember, they can't influence them necessarily. Can't expect that. They can just kind of expect that they're going to get some access. It's the fundraising arm of an interest group. They participate in electioneering, and they make campaign contributions. All right, so the Electoral College math that you need to know is that there are 538 total electoral votes. You need 270 to win. We have 29 in this state, and the way that we figure this out, that there's 100 senators, 435 representatives, and 3 votes from D.C., which makes your 538. So that means if I go back to the New York State one, we have 29. We have 2 senators, so you subtract 2 from 29, you get 27. That's the number of representatives we have. If no one receives the majority in the Electoral College vote, the House then chooses the president, and the Senate then chooses the vice president. And if you remember back to what I was talking about in class with the 2012 election, there would have been, if it had gone back to this plan, if Obama had not won the majority in the Electoral College vote, that we would have had a Romney-Biden administration. All right, so superdelegates are seated automatically based on their status as a current Republican or Democratic Party leader or elected official. All the superdelegates are free to support any candidate for the nomination, which is different than the regular delegates that are selected based on the party primaries and caucuses in each state. Now, although superdelegates have the ability to vote a different way than the results of the caucuses and primaries, they're not going to typically because of the fact that they have party loyalty. So interest groups, who's most likely to join? People that are more educated, they have higher paying jobs because that then will allow them to A, contribute to them, or B, have extra time to participate in them, being able to get childcare, things like that. People with higher levels of efficacy and higher levels of political engagement. The reason that people want to support groups like this are that work for policies that will provide them economic benefits. So, for an example, an economic benefit is if you're part of AARP, you might get a discount on your cell phone bill or insurance. If I'm a member of an organization of teachers, we might get discounts because we are teachers, on travel or on books or something like that. And nearly all corporate and labor interests offer economic incentives to their members, and that's what I was just talking about with economic incentives. Remember that when we go back to the blue circle, that if you can't afford to have childcare, or you work a different shift, or you are working class, typically they're not going to necessarily have as much interest in joining an interest group. All right, so criteria for being in office is 30-year-old for a senator, a citizen for 9 years, resident of the state from which he or she is elected. And then for president, 35 years old, natural born citizen, resident of the U.S. for at least 14 years. A 527 organization is a type of U.S. tax-exempt organization organized under the tax code. It's created primarily to influence the selection, nomination, election, appointment, or defeat of candidates to federal, state, or local public office. And they're going to be winding up raising money for political activities such as voter registration drives. So they're very active in electioneering. All right, net neutrality. We're talking about this in class today, and net neutrality is the belief that internet service providers should enable access to all content and applications, regardless of the source, and without favoring or blocking particular products or websites. So, one of the arguments against this is that it's capitalism, that if you are able to, then you should be able to have your information put through faster to the people that are searching for it because you are paying to do that. All right, so the AFL-CIO is an example of an umbrella organization. So they have lots of different interests underneath the umbrella of the AFL-CIO, which stands for the American Federation of Labor Congress of Industrial Organizations. And these organizations or institutions are working together formally to coordinate activities or pool resources because they have common interests. So some miscellaneous vocabulary. Narrowcasting is transmitting a television program, especially by cable or otherwise disseminate information to a comparatively small audience defined by special interest or geographical location. So you're going to have stations like Fox or MSNBC or DIY Network, anything that's going to a special group of people based on their interests. The Australian ballot is the ballot that we use now. It is secret, pre-printed, and paid for by the state and not a political party. The Help America Vote Act of 2002 was passed in response to the voting debacle surrounding the election of 2000, and it was meant to get all states into the digital world and so that we were voting electronically. Litigation is a strategy that interest groups use. It is used to challenge a policy in the courts. So anytime you see litigation, you need to think court case. Electioneering is working on behalf of a candidate that supports an interest group's cause. Interest groups want to get that candidate elected, or sometimes they're working so that they to not get somebody elected. One thing I forgot to put up on this list is salient. The word salient just means important. So salient issues are issues that are important to the people, and in theory, then they should be important to the candidate because if they want to get elected, they have to be in tune with what's going on with the public. All right, so that's the end of our review video today, and I hope you found this helpful.